What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of the NFL Betting Show here on our FTN Network YouTube page. It is a two-man show here today. Unfortunately, unable to hook up with Abby, myself, Chris Meaney with Mike Randle, George running the show in the background for us as well. It is week 6 already in the NFL. I don't know about you, Mike, but this is the time of the season where it's like pretenders and contenders, right? You really kind of get a good feel. We got over a month now of a large sample size and looking at some of our metrics over at FTN Bets, FTN Daily, in terms of which teams like to run the football, which teams like to play at a high pace, slow pace. Maybe they like to pass it a little bit more. Neutral script, obviously, depended. Look, the DVOA tools from Aaron Schatz is fantastic, getting a good feel. Like, for me, I just need to see at least 4 games from a team. It's just a little bit too early to be judging teams 2 and 3 weeks into the season, but here we are into week 6. I'll put you on the spot. Any surprises so far through 5 weeks? Is it just that maybe the Niners are absolutely better than anybody in football, or maybe it's just the Cowboys who are a little bit overrated as we head into week 6?
Yeah, I would take it this way, Chris. I love looking at as we're entering week 6, because to me, after 5 weeks, everything a lot we do is fantasy. We talk about FTN Fantasy, FTN Bets, all the great stuff that we have here, but it's almost like 1/3 of the season, because yes, you end up going to later in the season with week 18, etc. But we're really at the heart of the year with 1/3. And what I look at is number 1, AFC North. I do not think the Pittsburgh Steelers are in any way in trouble. We have the whole question with Pickett. Did he change the play call on Matt Canada? All the social media videos. But here we go. We look at the standings right now. They're 3-2. Baltimore's 3-2, which means, Chris, even with all the stuff that's going on and the bashing of Najee Harris, the Steelers are in sole possession, if you look at it that way, of first place in the AFC North. Bengals getting hot now at 2 and 3, but that draws my attention. My other issue, of course, is with the Chargers. We'll get into them in a little bit. Can the Chargers make a push here? Because Kansas City, as much as they're 4-1, has not looked great. They still have trouble at wide receiver. Travis Kelce left the game with an injury last week, so they're really ripe for the picking, but it's so hard to knock them off because of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, Chiefs and Broncos this Thursday Night Football. We will get into it in just a little bit. We have a prop each that we like from that game, and then we're going to share some of our picks against the spread and a couple totals as well. Last week went okay. You know, we were really on San Fran, both of us. We talked about them 3.5, and as I mentioned earlier off the top, they just really look like the best team in football, and I don't think it's really close. The schedule is fairly weak. I know they have a road game against Cleveland. They've allowed the fewest yards per game in the NFL, so it is, you know, a battle of, you know, 2 really strong defenses, but I like the Niners to come out on top. You know, you mentioned Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. I don't know if you caught the Pittsburgh Penguins game last night in the NHL.
Yes,
the entire crowd, fire Matt Canada, fire Matt Canada. They were chanting it at the hockey game. They have had enough from the offensive coordinator for the Steelers. And, you know, the AFC North, just, I feel like there's a lot of teams that are very similar. Good defenses. I'm not crazy about any of the offenses there. It's like slow pace games, defensive. I guess it would be an offensive struggle, but it was really interesting to see the entire fan base in Pittsburgh watching Sidney Crosby and Connor Bedard's debut chant fire Canada. And I guess you kind of agree. I think almost everyone agrees, even people outside of Pittsburgh at this point.
Yeah, I'm a Najee Harris defender because I feel like he's not, the running game is struggling so much. Listen, Jaylen Warren has been more impressive. He's much better in the receiving game, not arguing that. But I think they need to be able to run the ball more and do some stuff. Deontay Johnson's coming back. Kenny Pickett should be, Chris, what Sam Howell is. There's no reason. They both are good quarterbacks. They both can pass the ball. They both have great wide receivers. But that was a step in the right direction, as much as Cleveland has a superb defense and the Bengals are starting to get a little better with Joe Burrow. I still like Pittsburgh as a future to win this division. I think Mike Tomlin will get it right at some point. That was a big, big win in a game they should not have won against the Ravens, but they found a way.
They did find a way. And again, speaking of the NHL, we have an early bird special happening over at ftnbets.com. A link inside the description of this video. Head on over to ftnbets.com/pricing or click that link and you will see the early bird special with the NHL and NBA projections and betting picks from everybody across those two sports, as well as the Discord channel. It is $199 until Friday the 13th. That's right. Spooky. It's Friday the 13th. It's Halloween around the corner. Get in on this. We got Steph. Can't hear you. Jason Robertson, our guy, is going to score a couple goals. There we go. George making it happen for us. And the graphic is also pretty. And of course, I had some people reach out to us, Mike, about, what if I want all of the picks or a monthly package, NFL. This is really, I've said it a few times to you. I love this month as a sports fan. There's two. There's March, because everything is happening. And I know you love the March Madness, and then, Masters is around the corner, and it's like playoff hockey and playoff NBA, and baseball's coming back, and, the draft and all that. But October as well, right? We're into week 6, MLB postseason going on. Dream and Gross are still giving phenomenal picks in baseball. And I guess I've been riding the Diamondbacks too, and they've been plus money every week, and they haven't lost yet in the playoffs. We have NHL. You are going to be diving deep into what you already, on top of everything you already do, NBA and college basketball as well. So a lot of tools, a lot of projections, and you can use, what's the promo code for you? Randle Rant. We have it here on the bottom. FTA wins, but what is it? Is it Rant? What's your promo code?
I think it's Randle. I think it's just Randle, but I would go with FTN wins. FTN wins is the way to go here. When you're at the point I'm at where I'm so embedded, Chris, I don't even know what the promo code is. I'm sitting here praying for Pepperdine St. Mary's to come on the television, and I'm great here that I was finally able to get on the DFS stream with Zach Graham. We talked about Zion Williamson. We talked about Paulo Banchero. There's just so many things. I'm doing the Josh Gross betting show tonight. He's already telling people he's got a women's college basketball play. I mean, it's the best month of the year. There's no doubt about it.
That guy really knows just about everything when it comes to sports. Yeah, it was a good opening night in the NHL. As you see here, the early bird NHL and NBA, $199 for the season. This price will jump up after Friday the 13th. And again, if you are looking for the package of all sports, all picks from everybody, tools, projections, Discord channel, including the unbelievable betting tool when it comes to the edges, which we'll dive into a little bit as well, all included with the FTN betting package over at ftnbets.com/pricing. Okay, so enough of that. We're not even going to talk about last week. Last week was a good week. We had some picks right. We're going to move on to week 6 here. But before we get into the Thursday night football game with Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes has never lost to Denver. He's got the longest active streak, is like 11-0. They're massive favorites. It sounds like Kelsey will play. We do have a prop that we like, but we'll have some more stuff in a little bit. I'm going to, again, kind of put you on the spot. Maybe it's a storyline. Maybe it's just a fun game that you're thinking as you see the slate here. What is a game where you're going to be on the edge of your seat potentially? Just one that you have your eye on. Well, give me a game here that you like. Week 6.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's that Dallas Charger game on Monday night. Yeah. You could put that gif of that guy with that popcorn getting back in his chair and watching that game. Couple reasons. First, we have Dallas, who needs a big bounce back here against a Charger team that is now refreshed and replenished coming off a bye. So many storylines. Austin Eckler, 99%. Most open guy with injuries, possibly the NFL, talking to everybody about it. 99% he said he's ready to go. Quentin Johnson, the dynamic rookie, first-round pick, now had a bye week to put himself into the offense. You have a Charger defense that's been disappointing, but they need a big win here. Dallas has to bounce back. Dallas now a road favorite. The Chargers, Chris, they always struggle with a home field advantage, so there'll be a lot of Cowboy fans there. That, to me, is the one to watch. Should be high scoring, 2-point spread, two teams that really need it because they both feel they're Super Bowl contenders. That draws my eye right away.
I am intrigued with that game as well. There are a couple here on this board. I mean, you're right. The whole Kellen Moore and Dallas, and how bad is Dallas? Yeah. What's their ceiling? Is it just third, fourth best team in the NFC behind San Fran, Philly, and even, let's say, Detroit at this point? Are they maxed out and that's the best you're going to see? Or is that it was just San Fran is unbelievable? And I think it's a little bit of both there, but I am intrigued with the Detroit and Tampa Bay there. You see the Lions on the road as 3-point favorites. We're not really going to dive into this game. I have this feeling if it moves to 3.5 or it moves to 4, I will take the Bucks maybe at home here in this matchup, because I really do think that this Tampa team is a little bit underrated, right? Mm-hmm. I think that they still have some good players on defense. We'll see if Mike Evans is able to return. Baker Mayfield has been pretty solid so far this season. They are coming off that bye, as I mentioned. And then you have Detroit, who is just, my goodness, they're living up to all the expectations, Mike. I remember when you jumped on Mean Streets in the offseason, you talked about them winning the division. They had the opening night. They got that from the NFL. They beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead opening night. A lot has been made of Jared Goff's, the home and away splits. And even without Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs, they were still able to put up easily over 40 points against albeit a brutal Carolina team, but they're still able to get it done offensively. And David Montgomery looks great. How legit are the Lions here? And do you have any concerns of them going on the road and covering a game in what will be a tough environment in Tampa?
Yeah, I put an article out late on Sunday nights after I do my recap show. What are my 5 takeaways? And one of them this week, Chris, was, are the Lions for real? Yes, they are for real. And here is why. Number one, Jared Goff experience. He is not some quarterback that's substandard that's managing the game. He has gotten to a Super Bowl. You've seen him succeed, and he's devastating at home. He has that ability. He has a connection with Josh Reynolds from going back to the Rams. Rushing attack. Their offensive line is one of the best in the league per our measurements here at FTN. They were preseason. Dan Fournette did a preview. They are right now. Their run defense per DVOA, one of the top 5 teams run defense in the league. So they stop the run. They can run the ball. And they're doing this without Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Chris, they've cracked the code. Tight ends as a rookie, finally producing Sam Laporta. So they've been able to use their weapons. And listen, I have said this all along. You want to be an up-tempo team. You want to be a running team. You want to be a passing team. You can win anyway. What matters is, do they buy into the style? They are buying what Dan Campbell and all his caffeinated drinks are selling. They're into it. They're playing hard. They're solid in the trenches. Dangerous team, the Lions.
There are only 3 teams, according to, the team DVOA over at ftnbets.com, that are inside the top 10 defensively and also inside the top 10 offensively. You have Detroit, number 3 on defense, number 4 on offense. You have the Bills, number 4 on defense, number 3 on offense. So they're flip-flop there. And the other team, of course, the San Francisco 49ers, 7th defensively and number 2 offensively. So they are in elite company. And I'm glad you brought up Sam Laporta, because it is something that we had, even though we said we were going to forget last week, we did have the Lions to cover, and we had Sam Laporta having a big day, and he scored not 1 but 2 touchdowns. And yeah, he is currently tight end 1 in fantasy football. Crazy. So you're right, the rookie code, you can throw that one out the window. Let's get into Thursday Night Football quickly. We have a pick or 2 each here. So as I mentioned, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. They are massive favorites at home, 10.5, 11. It does sound like Travis Kelce will be able to suit up in this game, but again, it is still Wednesday here, time of recording, so we have some time. Maybe they rest him just a touch, but what do you like from this game? Maybe it's not a spread, maybe it's not a total, but maybe you're into a prop. Is there a prop that you like from this game, Randall?
Yes, sir. Russell Wilson over 19.5 rushing yards. Russ lost 15 pounds in the offseason, and the rushing results have followed. He averaged just 5 yards per carry on 55 attempts through 15 games last year in that debacle he had with the former head coach. This year, numbers, 6.6 yards per carry, 18 attempts through 5 games. That means, Chris, he's running at a higher rate, and he is running with more efficiency. Now the Broncos face Kansas City. The Chiefs have the 10th best pass defense for DVOA, and I am not inspired by what I saw Denver try to do against the Jets, which was Russ standing back there and no one being open except for the running backs and McLaughlin and P. Ryan and Adam Troutman, who somehow became a legitimate pass catcher in this game only. Javonte Williams looks like he's back, but he's still battling the quad injury. Russ scrambles have become an integral part of this offense, 23.8 rushing yards per game. And finally, if you go to FTN and you go to our splits tool here, take a look at this. When Russ has been an underdog in 46 games in his career, he has averaged 28 rushing yards per game, which easily gets over this number. That number increases to 36.5 rushing yards per game when he has been an underdog of 7 points or more. And drum roll, please, George. In the 2 games that Russell Wilson has been a double-digit or higher underdog, he has averaged, Chris, 59.5 rushing yards per game, because if he's an underdog, he's going to be fighting. That's what Russ does. Broncos country, let's ride. He's going to run whatever it takes to keep his team in the game. Broncos country, let's run. Russ Wilson over 19.5 rushing yards.
Oh, man, I love it coming in hot. Don't have any fire flames for you, but we do have get your popcorn ready. Let's go. That one we have. And you know what? I got to give you some credit, man. You went out on a limb this year and you said Russ would bounce back from a fantasy football perspective. And he has, man. He's been a top 12 quarterback in fantasy. You mentioned he is running. the losses are really not on him. There's been some stuff like last week in particular looked like old Russ against the Jets, but we'll give the Jets a little bit of credit there for sure. But the losses that they've had to start the season is not on Russ. It's the defense. Like if this Russ showed up last year, they would have won a lot more football games because the defense played really good and they held their opponents, to like basically 2 scores a game, but they just didn't have the offense to pile up. So we're in on that one. And then I want to talk here a little bit about Rashee Rice. We got plus 270 for a touchdown using the prop shop. A link inside the description of this video to get the best possible number. Save yourself a lot of time and most of all, a lot of cash. And the over 29.5 receiving yards is a number that I like as well. But I really think that he's going to find the end zone here this week. And I mentioned Travis Kelce, who is questionable to suit up in this game, but also we know about the Broncos. We just kind of picked on them defensively. They've given up a lot of passing yards. They really struggle against the ground game for sure. Like if KC gets up here, they'll lean on Pacheco. Maybe we even see a little CEH. But looking at some of our tools and free tools, of course, over at FTNdaily.com, FTN Bets, we have the red zone alert. And we have a lot of great tools in that red zone. Basically, I forget exactly what it's called. Red zone receiving stats. It's that simple. But the targets, he's right there. If we just take out Kelce because he's getting his targets, we'll take Kelce out. We'll take Ferguson out, who, by the way, leads all tight ends in targets and catches at the position. We have 8 red zone targets, which is tied for 6th, 4 off the lead. Devontae Adams has 12. That is first among Kansas City wide receivers. And he is starting to run a little bit more routes. We're still seeing MVS and Sky Moore out there more, but they're not doing a whole lot, Randle. They're just really out there. We're not seeing consistency from Kadarius Toney. This is the guy, apparently, according to reports, that Patrick Mahomes wanted, working out with Rashee Rice, and he does have a couple touchdowns already. Not seeing, the 2.5 catch prop at minus 275, not into it. Let's see if he can find the end zone in a game where his team is double-digit point favorites here at home. I mentioned Mahomes has never lost to the Broncos as well, 11-0 here. So let's roll with Rashee Rice. And as for the receiving yard prop at 29.5, this is a number that he's hit in 3 straight games on kind of minimal work, like 5 for 59, 3 for 39, 4 for 33. As I mentioned, he does have the 2 scores there. So we're riding with Rashee Rice, maybe a little sprinkle on a first-time touchdown there for the old Rook. Let's get into this week. We'll start with you. I know that you're interested in the Patriots. Is this a bounce back spot here after getting shut out at home last week against the Saints? They have a matchup against the Raiders in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Chris, whenever I make my pick, I like to think, what is the general feeling by the public on the pick? Because I want to be on the opposite side of that. Right now, you can't get anyone to say that the Patriots are good. 2 consecutive blowouts, both the worst in the Bill Belichick era. They look lost. Mac Jones has been benched twice. So this is about as buy low as you could possibly find. We're going against the Raiders, though, and Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels as a head coach, as a favorite, 9-12 against the spread since 2003. Yes. That's not great. McDaniels as a home favorite of 3 or more, 3-7. The game last week doesn't count because it was only 2.5. Raiders 1-3 against the spread under Josh McDaniels as a home favorite of 3 or more with 3 outright losses. That's per Bet Labs. Pats are in disarray, but it's a buy low spot. Patriots do stop the run. It's the one thing they can do. They are top 3 right now in rush defense DVOA here at FTN. Alvin Kamara last week, big fantasy game, 22 for 80, and they didn't average a ton of rushing yards per attempt last week. It was just 3.2. Raiders also -7 in turnover differential, and that's when they got Jordan Love to give him the ball 3 times last week as well. So Patriots limit the turnovers, conservative game plan, getting points against the illustrious Josh McDaniels at home. I don't think so. I'll take New England plus the 3. I'd love it, Chris, at 3.5. You said there was one earlier. Hope it's still out there. I love the 3.5. And if you really want to get frisky, why don't you tease it up and give me the extra points there, and I'll be real comfortable here. I think New England wins the game outright.
Oh, baby, let's go. Coming in hot. 3.5. Yes, I am seeing that over at FanDuel. Again, the parlay calculator and the prop shop, those tools are your friends. That may move away, but like you said, you like them anyways on the money line. I mean, I'm not super impressed with the Raiders. And I am more impressed with the Saints. I know that I understand that It's like what I wanted to say here and why I'm transitioning into the pick that I like is that I'm not super surprised that the Pats struggled against the Saints last week. Yes, there's something going on in New England. This is a much better matchup, Belichick. And there's something to be said about Belichick too, and owning his former dudes that he's had, right?
Yeah,
And Belichick and Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, and to be fair, let's look at what they've done right, and this will lead into your pick. They did hold Chris Olave down. They
Yeah.
did hold Tyreek Hill down. He only had 4 receiving yards. Yes, Olave got a touchdown. Yes, Tyreek Hill got a touchdown. And they've been able to stop the run. So they've been doing what they do well. They just can't have the crazy turnovers in the pick six like the Saints were all over the place. To be fair, just in my
opinion. Yeah. And, just to extend that, they do a great job of taking away the opposing team's best player. And Devontae Adams, I thought Green Bay did a pretty good job, but maybe Devontae Adams isn't 100% healthy at the moment. It just seems like an offense where it's Jacobs, who's had some moments more bad than good, I think, and then really just focusing on 2 wide receivers. Like back in the day when it was Carr and Gruden, it was like 3rd and Renfro. What did the chart say?
Yes.
He's not even getting used. He played 8 snaps in the first half. It's Jacoby and it's Devontae. So I really do like the call and I like the defense. And I kind of have a lean to the under. I don't think we'll see a lot of offense happening in that game. And I'm not sure we'll see a lot of offense in this next game either. So I am on the Saints. I know you're sick of me talking about New Orleans, but it is mostly about the defense here. Derek Carr hasn't looked fantastic over the past couple of weeks dealing with the shoulder injury. Last week was a little bit better for him than it was 2 weeks ago, but he hasn't needed to do a whole lot because this Saints defense is fantastic. Again, I'll go to DVOA statistics here. 5th in total DVOA, 7th against the pass, 10th against the rush, 7th fewest rushing yards allowed to date under 100. They've only allowed 15 points per game. San Fran, Cleveland, Baltimore are the only teams that allowed fewer points per game. And this goes back to last year. This year, it's 18 or fewer in 4 of the 5, 0 last week against, again, Mac Jones and company. And then if you go back to just last year, 20 or fewer points allowed in 15 of their last 16 games. This has been a good defense for quite some time. Carr doesn't need to do a whole lot. I'm very impressed with CJ Stroud. You guys know this. I've been saying I always thought, I lost a lot of money. I thought CJ Stroud was going to be the first overall pick. I thought he should have been. I thought he was going to be. I'm not saying to write off Bryce Young, but Stroud looks like a franchise quarterback for sure. He hasn't thrown a pick yet. He's been very accurate. He's tossed the ball a lot. So it's not like he's only throwing 15 times a game. This is a team that has been throwing the football when they need to throw the football. Nico Collins looks like a nice wide receiver here in year number 3. They've had some moments from Tank Dell. Dameon Pierce, hasn't been super efficient. He's getting a lot of touches. It's going to be tough to run on them. And I think Stroud will have his first difficult game in the NFL with the pressure. He may throw a pick. It's 1.5. I actually think I have it in the bet tracker on the money line. It opened up at like maybe -1. I thought the odds were slightly better. This is -110. And I think now currently the money line is -120. And I kind of have a lean to the under as well because of the things that I said with Carr, maybe not fully 100% at the moment, but it's really the defense that has put the Saints in situations to win football games. So even on the road, we'll take New Orleans here, and I think they win by a field goal.
Yeah, this is the testing game. I get it. You know that the Saints have been my foil all year long. They are 1-3-1 against the spread, technically on the closing line, but their defense has played very well. And the great equalizer is turnovers. They got turnovers last week against New England, and they just stuck it to me right away. So that's the key. Will the defense continue to play? At that level, CJ Stroud is not at a turnover yet. You can argue that at some point that's going to happen. I get it. I get the logic, and you've been very consistent, and that is it. If they're going to win this game and they're going to cover, it's going to be with their defense. I get it. I totally see it. I've been the foil of New Orleans. It's gone okay as a betting perspective, but still, depending on how you look at it, the Saints are just going to continue to roll. If those Falcons lose this week, here come the Saints.
Yeah, I think the best way is just to kind of pick them. If you want to pick them on the money line, a lot of their spreads have been very much
low.
The same, like 1.5. Like they haven't had big spreads, and they blew that game against the Packers, which they had the lead until Carr left.
Oh, it got hurt. That's fair. That's fair.
They couldn't move the ball, but we're a little different on the Saints. I've kind of come around to your point of view a little bit because I thought that they were going to be for sure, like no question. I thought that they were going to win the division, but The Bucks are playing good football, and Atlanta's hanging around as well, right? And we saw Ritter throw the ball a little bit more, and I think they have a slightly underrated defense as well. So it will be that division will be won on the last week of the season, I believe, and I think we'll see 2 or 3 teams in it near the end. Okay, we got a pick each there. Let's throw back over to you. Life without Justin Jefferson begins today. Well, I suppose it began on Monday, but it will officially begin this week on Sunday when they have a matchup all of a sudden against the red hot Chicago Bears. What do you make of this matchup?
Yeah, to me, this is an easy one. I'm going over on this matchup. I'm going over. What's it at? 44.5 right now, I think you can get. Our model has been scalding hot here at FTN. You want me to quantify scalding hot? No problem. FTN model for totals with a 9% or higher projected edge, 10-1 through 5 weeks. Oh, well, it's only 9%. No, it's not. If you lower your bar to 5% edge on FTN totals here with our model, 13-6 through 5 weeks. So what are we looking at right now? We're looking at the biggest edges we have on our FTN model, which are available if you're a subscriber. We have an 8.2% edge, and it is rising on this game on the over 44.5, 60.6% probability of winning. The key to me, Chris, is pace. The Vikings play with pace. Justin Jefferson not being there doesn't mean they're going to slow down. They're not going to become a run-heavy team with Cam Akers and Alexander Mattison, the most inefficient duo of running backs you could possibly find in the NFL. Yes, they still have TJ Hawkinson. I think KJ Osborne is a fine manage the game wide receiver. Jordan Addison can take the top off. On the other side, the Bears offense has started to click. I don't think the Minnesota defense on the road is going to slow down Justin Fields, who, since he had his diatribe, has put 4 touchdowns on the board in each of 2 games. Yes, you have DJ Moore has to be stopped. Cole Kmet can't stop scoring touchdowns. Running backs look like Roshan Johnson may be available, who I've loved this entire time, especially during the draft. Deonta Foreman is still reasonable, even if Herbert can't go. They're starting to get hot. I don't trust the Bears defense. It just made Sam Howell look like the second coming of John Elway in the second half of that game. I don't trust the Vikings defense, who hasn't really stopped anybody. So to me, this game's going over. Points galore, DFS. Thank you very much. And our model agrees, 8.2% edge, probably be 9% by Sunday, over 44.5.
I love it. More on that model in a little bit, but I don't know about you, but I really love seeing DJ Moore ball out. You know, I just all the time, you know, he's overrated. You know, he hasn't played with great quarterbacks. And say what you want about Fields, but this may be the quarterback who has the highest ceiling. Like, he played with Cam, who was near the end at that moment, and I don't believe it was the MVP season. And, you know, Baker and Sam Darnold and just PJ Walker and all these randoms, Kyle Allen that played in Carolina. We're seeing the uptick here from DJ Moore, who has had a 49.5 receiving yard prop in each of the last 3 games. He has 3 games with 100 yards. He had over 200 last week. He's on pace for 1,800 receiving yards, which would shatter his career high in 2020 when he had 1,100. He's 2 touchdowns away from matching that career high again in the same season with 7 receiving touchdowns. DJ Moore, I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't have a number. Maybe it opens up at 65.5. I'm still taking the over because he's a big play waiting to happen. You can go back into 2017, 2018. He's top 10 among wide receivers in receiving yards. Just doesn't have the touchdowns like those other alphas on there. He's always been a high yard per catch guy, and you could see it last week. Part of that, of course, was on the Commanders, the secondary, but you just talked about it as well. The Vikings secondary isn't fantastic. So I'm with you. I think that one will be a fun game. Do you have, I know it's not a pick on a side that you love, but do you have a lean either way of what you're thinking here? I kind of feel like Minnesota will pull it out on the road by a field goal.
If you're going to give me a field goal in this matchup, I'll take it. And Chris, hot off the press here at FTN, just for your knowledge, only, there is a prop right now on DJ Moore. We have him projected for 67 receiving yards. What do you think the prop is at BetMGM?
Ratcliffe's usually pretty conservative with his projections, but I think it's lower than that. I still think that Vegas is not giving them credit. What is it? Is it 60?
55.5. 55.5
We'll be
receiving
right
yards.
back. I'm going to go run to the bank, get some money, and immediately put it on. Like, are you kidding me? 55.5? What are we even doing here? He's going to get that on like 3 catches.
Yeah.
Rewind the tape back and have 0 yards. These things happen. The prop world in the NFL hasn't, I'm not gonna lie, it hasn't been too kind to me to start, but we've been hammering some good sides and totals here. So we'll continue with another one. Actually, speaking of the NFL model and what you just said, like, those are electric numbers. We have a link inside the description of this video as well. I mean, worth the subscription in its own. Plus, you'll get Randle's college basketball picks here pretty soon. But Baltimore and Tennessee under 41. Looking at the edge percentage, I know you've seen this, but do you know what the number is for this one? This is 9.8%. So that fits too, right? Correct?
100%.
But a lot of the other tools we have as well, Mike, kind of talk about how this could be what I like to call as an offensive struggle, like between these two teams. Looking at our pace and run tool, both teams inside the top 10 in terms of run percentage. Baltimore's number 2 at 50.9%, Tennessee at 43%. Tennessee plays at a very slow pace. I got here seconds per play, third slowest. So this is a team that slows it down a little bit. It's 29.6 seconds per snap, actually, which is inside the top 3. Not what you want. Like you talked about other teams, slinging it, playing at a quick pace. Tennessee is slowing it down here a touch, and they don't get a lot of plays as a result because they can't move the football. DeAndre Hopkins finally had a vintage game, but they can't move the football. 43.9 plays per 60 seconds is the third fewest. Then we have Baltimore, who is on the list, number 12 in terms of like seconds per snap, slow pace. We have Tennessee, 17.6 points per game overall, so they're not doing a whole lot. DVOA offensively, number 22. And what we know about the Titans is defensively, over the past couple of years, teams have not been able to run on them. Some teams don't even bother. We have Baltimore at 17 in pass DVOA offensively. And I don't know about you, but I'm not impressed. I haven't been impressed so far with this Todd Monken offense. OBJ and Bateman haven't been completely healthy. We've had some nice moments from Zay Flowers. He had a couple bad drops last week, but I think that this one, again, just using some of the tools that we've talked about here and just seeing these two teams play every week and the offense being really not existent on either side, Mike, I am going to go with the under 41. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I love it because it's tethered to my side pick in this game, which will be Tennessee. I wrote this up against the Bengals a couple weeks ago for Moneyline Underdog. I will go back to it. And if I believe Tennessee is going to win, I believe it's going to be an under. I don't think without Treylon Burks and a limited offense for Tennessee, I don't think this is going to be high scoring. Mike Vrabel, 11-6 against the spread as a home underdog with 10 outright wins. I think they get their pass rush going here. I agree. I like Tennessee, which means I like the under because I don't think it's high scoring. And I agree with you. The Ravens offense, Todd Monken, everything we've heard about, not happening. It's Justice Hill. It's Gus Edwards. It's Zay Flowers. It's Mark Andrews, but it's a lower scoring game. It's not explosive.
And one more thing here on the way out, another perk of having the FTN betting package, hopefully the picks being correct over like 60% of the time is one of the perks, but also you get notified right away. We're active in the Discord channel when the spreads and lines come out. I know you do the weekly recap here at our FTN Network YouTube page, which I love, but I noticed immediately after San Fran just bullied the Cowboys. I'm like, I wonder what this spread will be here. Good defense in Cleveland. We talked about points per game allowed and yards allowed. They're right near the top. DVOA, they're right near the top. And in fact, they are. But they opened up at 2.5 favorites, San Fran on the road. So I immediately hammered that. That is now gone. I'm seeing 6.5 at the moment. So I still like San Fran. Deshaun Watson didn't practice today. If Deshaun Watson isn't able to suit up, that number is going to continue to climb. I have a little fun teaser here for you guys. A 4.5 teaser. We're going down on Miami here, touch to 9. By the way, 2,568 yards through first 5 games, NFL record.
Crazy.
513 yards per game right now for Miami. So we've teased them down a touch here to win by 9 against Carolina. We picked on the Panthers last week quite a bit. I'll give Bryce Young a little bit. I'll be easy on Young. We already talked about Stroud being the guy. San Fran down here to 2. We have, which again may have changed because I'm seeing live at 6.5, but that may be 3. I'm comfortable San Fran going to win by 4 or 5 here. The Rams teased down -2.5. Cooper Kupp returned. We had that in the bet tracker. His catch prop, his receiving yard prop. I don't know if you have any numbers handy, but I can guarantee you we won't have 57 again for Mr. Cooper Kupp, which he had 56 on the opening drive for the Rams, 5 grabs. So we teased them down a little bit. Stafford slinging it all over the field. And then the Eagles at -2.5 against the Jets. They're nearly touchdown favorites here on the road at MetLife. And I thought the Eagles played their most complete game of the season last week against the Rams. Defensively, they brought it. Jalen Carter looks like an absolute baller. And although they're struggling inside the red zone, Mike, and everybody's talking about the Eagles and not looking right, they're 5-0. They're second in rushing yards per game. They're 5th in points per game. They're second in the NFL behind Miami in total yards per game. They are moving the football. They're just struggling inside the red zone at the moment. And I think that Zach Wilson may be in for a tough day at the office. So I don't know what you think about that. It's +265, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, I go back to the old Mike Francesa rule here in New York, Chris. You are what's on the back of your card, okay? Just like Joshua Dobbs was eventually going to come back to earth, which he did against the Bengals. I think Zach Wilson, I mean, he's playing well right now, but I think he's
really
due for some regression. I don't think we've jumped the shark, if you will, with him. By the way, to answer your question, our FTN bets model here has Cooper Kupp for 88 receiving yards. No, there is not a prop out yet, but that will be higher than whatever his prop is for sure. Probably 81, 82. I can see something like that.
Oh man, really missed the boat on like we don't put anything in over 2 units, but that's one. If like you ever had to put something in that's like 3 or 4 units, it's like a Cooper Kupp receiving yard prop that opens up at 57.5. Good stuff, Mike. Appreciate it. Any plans this week for week 6?
I'm getting ready for next week's unveiling, Chris, of the college basketball previews. We're going conference by conference, starting with the Big 12 on Monday. I have a lot of pressure to find my Florida Atlantic of this year. So that is my weekend. It's going to be here it is, preparing for next week. College basketball right around the corner. Got some great stuff in NBA, of course. Yes, of course. Either that or a martini, George, one or the other. You know it.
Check out Mike this week. He's going to join me on the FTN Fantasy Show over at Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio Channel 87 from 9 to 11 Eastern. Jake Seeley is going to take a hike. It's going to be myself and stepmom Lauren, and we're going to have Mike join us, and we'll talk about a couple things leading up to kickoff on Saturday. That is, I think I may have said Sunday. I do know the day of the show. It is on Saturday. So we'll have some fun with that. All right, Mike Randle at Randle Rant. Good luck. Let the winners be yours. And hit us up if you guys have any questions. Always circling back on these videos. If you have a question, there's some line movement, things you're unsure of, maybe potentially. If it's a start or sit, I'm there to answer those as well. So leave it there in the comments section and reach out if you guys have any questions at all. And check out those links inside the description of this video. Save you a lot of time, save you a lot of cash, and that's what we're here for, to create a distraction and maybe put a few extra bucks in the pocket. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.